Party Peter Obi, emphasizing that he will not stop being the face of the opposition in the country. VOP News gathered that the former governor of Anambra State made this known on Sunday night while speaking on a Twitter Space interaction Parallel Facts. Obi stated that he has been getting mind-blowing offers to stop condemning the Bola Tinubu administration, saying that he was being threatened for rejecting the mind-blowing offers. He, however, did not reveal the identity of the individuals or groups who made him the offers. The former governor claimed that the Tinubu government was plotting to destroy him and plan negative things against him for refusing their offers. Obi therefore stated that he was ready to continue to stand and sacrifice for the right thing to be done in the country, insisting that he was not afraid of death. Meanwhile, the Rivers State chapter of the All Progressives Congress recently has received 27 state lawmakers from the People's Democratic Party who recently joined the party. The lawmakers were received in a ceremony chaired by the Rivers APC caretaker chairman Tony Okocha on Monday at the Port Harcourt Polo Club. Also, the 26 lawmakers in attendance at the event were led by the factional speaker Martin Amawule, who is loyal to the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike. Speaking at the event, Okocha accused the Rivers State government, led by Governor Similai Fubara, of masterminding the arson of the State Assembly. Reacting to the demolition of the State House of Assembly by the Rivers government, Okocha said the move will not stop the lawmakers from performing their legislative functions. The APC caretaker chairman claimed that the lawmakers could meet and make laws anywhere because the assembly is not the building but the human beings inside the structure. Speaking on behalf of the defected lawmakers, Amawule maintained that they are still members of the assembly despite their seats being declared vacant by the Edison Ehie Group. The Rivers Elders and Leaders Forum have condemned fresh moves recently to impeach Governor Similai Fubara by 27 members of the State House of Assembly. The Rivers State leaders and elders also condemned an alleged attack on Governor Fubara by police operatives. The forum made their decision known in a communique after an emergency meeting held to review the recent political situation in Rivers State. You do recall that former governor and current FCT minister Nyesom Wike and also has been at loggerheads with his predecessor and political godson Fubara. The political tussle resulted in the decision of no fewer than 25 members of the State House of Assembly to begin impeachment proceedings against Governor Fubara. The move was, however, thwarted after an early morning fire destroyed parts of the assembly. The members, who later decamped from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress, have begun fresh moves to impeach Governor Fubara. And still on Rivers, the Independent National Electoral Commission is setting its sights on Thursday, February 1st, 2024, as a potential date for a by-election to fill the gaps in the state and federal legislatures. This follows the need to fill the vacancies left by court orders, resignations and death. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu dropped the hint during a recent meeting with leaders of political parties. Professor Yakubu revealed that the courts, after the end of legal battles, instructed the commission to conduct rerun elections in 34 federal and state constituencies. According to the INEC boss, there is 1 senatorial seat, 11 federal constituencies and 22 state constituencies up for grabs. He added, and I quote, "I want to assure you that at the end of all the litigations, including the governorship elections pending on appeal at the Supreme Court, the Commission will present a comprehensive analysis of the petitions, including cases where the Commission was ordered to issue certificates of return to other candidates and the reasons for the decisions by the courts as part of the lessons learned from the 2023 general elections for the consequential reforms to improve the conduct of future elections." You're currently listening to the World News at 6 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. After this brief break, we'll bring you more stories and analysis. Welcome back. You are still listening to the World News at 6 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. In more news reports, troops of the Joint Task Force Northwest Operation Hadarin Daji, in their relentless efforts for continuous clearance and offensive operations, have rescued 13 kidnapped victims from Maru local government area of Zamfara state. A statement issued by the spokesman Captain Ibrahim Yahaya said that the troops successfully rescued 13 kidnapped victims and arrested 11 suspected logistics suppliers of a notorious terrorist kingpin in Zamfara state. All the rescued victims are from Mutinji village of Dansadao Emirate in Maru local government area of the state, and they are currently undergoing medical treatment and debriefing. All the rescued victims will be handed over to the representative of the Zamfara state government to unite them with their families as soon as possible. The resilient troops also cleared a notorious terrorist hideout at Gidan Jaja in Zurmi local government area of the state. Similarly, the OPHD troops arrested 11 suspected terrorist logistics suppliers who supply logistics to notorious terrorist Halilu Sububu, Akwanar Boko in Zurmi local government area of the state. Also, to talk on some topical issues on the world news at 6, I have joining me via the telephone a legal practitioner, a social and political affairs commentator, and that's Barrister Eze Eluche. Barrister Eze Eluche, good evening and welcome to VOP World News at 6.
Yes, good evening. Thank you for inviting me over.
Thank you so much, Barrister Eze. Let's first of all start off with Peter Obi. Recently, he held a space called Parallel Facts. Parallel Facts is where they talk about the political situation in the country. They also talk about the economic situation in the country, the policies implemented and how it affects the political atmosphere. Peter Obi, we do know, is one speaker who has been very vocal with most of these policies and how it affects Nigerians. We do know his stance on some economic analysis and some statistics that he usually presents when he talks on such public fora. Well, he recently said that he's been threatened because he has been very vocal in terms of criticizing the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. One of the things he said was that he has been offered several things, which may include money or other inducements, but he said he had declined and that he would continue to talk about these issues. His interest is for a better Nigeria. Why would Peter Obi be threatened? Isn't it the place of the opposition to criticize?
Well, what Mr. Peter B is doing is the appropriate thing to do, to respond or to criticize government actions. But my worry is that he needs a political structure to do that. He cannot be responding to all the minuses of government because they will be happening every day.
Okay.
Well, one would have preferred a situation whereby Mr. Peter B responds directly to the malfeasance or the misdeeds of Mr. Bola Tinubu directly, and then have lieutenants who will respond appropriately to that of other officials of the government. And that is the ideal thing. I mean, in other democracies, they may have what they call the shadow ministers, so that for rascal acts of ministries of health or education, you have a designated official of the opposition who will respond to such issues. And not just for Mr. B to respond to each and every one of them, because if he does that, he will not have time for himself. He will be busy every day. Because every day of the week, every day of the month, his government is committing one atrocity or the other. If it's not in health, it's in the financial sector or in the education. So, I mean, he has to be organized. That is my feeling on this issue.
All right, Barrister Eze Eluche, another impending situation is the fact that a couple of critics believe that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not confident on himself and that his legitimacy is still being questioned. Others are also of the opinion that the FBI CIA document will continue to be a nightmare for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and because of that, he would do all and sundry that would require to show support with the European Union or the United States so long as those documents are not released. Also, Agbakoba, who is one of a senior advocate of Nigeria, recently said in the presence of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that the Supreme Court is the worst ever. He said that in the presence of the president. And this is what a lot of Nigerians feel. This is basically how a lot of Nigerians feel. So let me ask you, Barrister Eze, is it possible that the president is still not confident in himself, even if the Supreme Court has affirmed him. And is it possible that there could be some compromise between the president or agreement between the president and the CIA or the FBI concerning the release or the public release of the president's affiliations with some, indictment, something that could actually tarnish his personality?
Well, with regards to the various FBI files and the files for the intelligence agencies on the person occupying the office of the President of Nigeria, the reality is that that is what foreign intelligence agencies do. They will try their best to leverage on whatever information they have to build the leaders or officials of other countries so that they get them to do what their own foreign country wants. So in the case of the USA and the FBI, they will be they will feel very happy that they have some documents on Mr. Tinubu, with which they can now use to virtually blackmail Mr. Tinubu to do what the USA wants. And it's quite unfortunate. That is why the role the Supreme Court played in foisting Mr. Tinubu on Nigeria is most unfortunate. It was clear that we had a candidate who is adversely affected by his past. A lot of things are in Mr. Tinubu's past that can be held against him because there are facts. There are facts that he forged the certificates he presented to INEC. Another fact is that he claimed to have attended a school that was not existing when he attended the school. That's the Government College, Lagos. And the fact also that they have so many facts on Mr. Tinubu which can be used to blackmail him. So that the Supreme Court acquiesced to allowing itself to be used to justify the entry into office of Mr. Tinubu exposes Nigeria to a great harm, to great misdeed. And that is what we have to suffer for the entirety of Mr. Tinubu's tenure. With regards to Mr. Agbakoba's comment that this Supreme Court is the worst Supreme Court ever, that also is not in doubt. Even the Chief Justice Ariwola knows that he's presiding over the most jaundiced, the very worst Supreme Court we've ever had. To even make matters worse, not recently, not too long ago, he also appointed his own brother as the auditor of the Supreme Court. How based and how jaundiced can a system be? Utterly shameless. Even if your brother is the best, must it be your brother that you make the auditor of the Supreme Court? And some will argue that his brother is very qualified and all that. That does not matter. In the eyes of everybody, can your brother actually audit what you do in the NJC or in the Supreme Court? So because the Supreme Court, without doubt, what Mr. Agbakoba said is the absolute fact. And they proceed even to give judgments that amaze law students, judgments that have no relevance or that cannot even be relied upon as judgments of a Supreme Court of any country. So Mr. Agbakoba was very right. And then all this, plus the fact that Mr. Tinubu emerged from a jaundiced process, only exposes us to more harm at the international sector. And definitely Mr. Tinubu will not be ruling for Nigerians. That is obvious. Before he does anything, he will likely ask the Americans or the Britons, what do you want me to do? That is the unfortunate stage we have found ourselves. And how we overcome it is left to Nigerians. But like I always say, when we say enough is enough, enough becomes enough. But for now, Nigerians are tolerating the nonsense and we'll stay by it and see how long it lasts.
All right. Barrister Luche, let's go to Rivers, because that is also one imbroglio where the president has been called into on several occasions. And that's concerning the tussle, the feud between Nyesom Wike, the political godfather, and Similai Fubara, who is the anointed godson. Nigerians did not expect that this brotherhood or this friendship or this, communal relationship between these two individuals will become fraught at this very short moment, just into 3 or 4 months into Fubara's tenure as the governor of Rivers State. Others have said that the president is being biased by not, being an intermediate into the situation. But we do know that the president had tried on, I think, one of the occasions to see how he could resolve the differences between Fubara and Nyesom Wike. Others feel that maybe there is something Nyesom Wike has up his sleeves that could possibly implicate the president in one or two situations, and that's why the president has been mute, because Wike had been, brazenly trying to create a sense of destabilization or possibly make Rivers State become a state of anarchy. Is that a strong possibility to consider?
Well, it is. It is. I think from looking at precedents of similar experience of where some governors have tried to put their stooges as their replacements, I have realized that maybe Mr. Fubara acted a bit in a haste.
Okay.
In trying to dislodge himself from the Wike stranglehold. Why do I mean he acted in a bit of a haste? We had a previous incident of this kind of imposition where Odius Okalo imposed two governors in Imo and Abia State. He imposed Ike Hakim in Imo State, and then he imposed T.A. Oji in Abia State. What did these two other governors that were imposed do? They waited until their principal, which was Odius Okalo, helped them to overcome Supreme Court judgments, and they were now sure that they had a tenure before they now turned against their benefactor. But in the case of Mr. Fubara, he has only passed the appeal court. The matter is still going to go to this same jaundiced Supreme Court that all Nigerians and Agbakoba has said is the worst ever. So Mr. Fubara appears to have acted a bit in a haste. Because now he's at the behest of Mr. Wike and the APC and the government which controls the Supreme Court. And that's what will happen. I wouldn't be surprised if against all legalities, against due process, this Supreme Court rules that Fubara is no longer the governor of Rivers State. So if he does that, does he have sufficient clout in his state to oppose a jaundiced judgment of the Supreme Court? If he doesn't, then it appears he might have acted in a bit of a haste. He could have stomached all the rubbish and the malfeasance of Wike a few more months, waited for the Supreme Court judgment to go through, and then display himself. Now, it is strange that I'm giving this advice online, but that is the reality. That is how low the Nigerian contraption has fallen. That is how far down the abyss we have gone. When we now have to play games with the electorate, when imposed governments have to wait until their principals have helped them to overcome the structure of the Supreme Court before they can now decide to break loose. I still refer you back to the statement by a member of the House of Reps in Plateau State, when he told those in Plateau State that, look, when we get to Supreme Court, you will show us who you know and we'll show you who we know.
All right, Barrister. Okay, go ahead. Continue, please.
It is clear that Mr. Fubara has taken a very big risk by deciding to break loose from Mr. Wike before Mr. Wike assured him of a Supreme Court judgment. And now he's at the beck and call of a Supreme Court that is acknowledged to be the very worst in the country, ever in the history of the country. So I don't know how he hopes to overcome it. But then, the saving grace is this. Rivers State and that region controls the wealth of this country. And I know that Mr. President Bola Tinubu realizes that if there is a mess up in that region, and the people of the region go into the creeks and decide to shut down the oil production of this country, then this country is in a big mess. So perhaps, and only perhaps, the Supreme Court will be advised in its own good, for its own interest, and in the interest of even the regime of Mr. Tinubu, not to toy with the people's wishes in Rivers State.
All right, sir. For example, remember I asked you, I said a lot of people feel the president has been biased by not interfering in the debacle like he did in Ondo State, in Rivers State. But the former Minister of Work, Babatunde Fashola, has said that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's intervention is not required in the ongoing political tension in Rivers State, even that of Ondo State, even though that of Ondo State has been, put together. He said the Constitution doesn't give room for such. And when he made that statement, he reiterated that Does the Constitution assign a role to the president in this matter? He asked while he was speaking concerning the Wike Fubara debacle. But a lot of Nigerians feel that the president, on several occasions, his advice had been sought on how to resolve some of these issues, even when constitutionally he ought not to be part of it. So, if in time past or even before now, he had always involved himself in clarifying issues or resolving issues, why can't he resolve the situation? Unless maybe he's leaning towards Nyesom Wike. Is there a possibility, or the president is just obeying the constitution not to get himself involved?
People like Fashola who cherry pick on constitutional issues should learn to keep quiet on these matters. The reality is this: where were all these people talking about the Nigerian constitution when, against the spirit of the constitution, Bola Tinubu was made president? Was he supposed to have made president? So there's nothing like constitution. The fact is that the Nigerian constitution has been discarded. Even in the way Nigeria is ruled, there's nothing like, it's just like any day the government wakes up, they do what they feel like. The reference to the Nigerian constitution is just a joke. So what Mr. President has been doing by interfering, he can continue to interfere. It's easier for him to interfere in Ondo State because it is his own ethnic group. But then when he goes to Rivers State, who knows him there? What powers of interference does he even have? Can he call any of the parties to a table? The answer is no. So there's a limit to which Mr. Tinubu can interfere in such matters. And when we talk of Mr. Tinubu interfering, can he even, does he have the interfere? This is a man who, when you watch him speak in public forums, you see him. Do you think he can actually have the capacity? Or is it the same thing when the chief of staff and his kitchen cabinet interfere? You now say Mr. Tinubu has interfered. I doubt Mr. Tinubu has the intellectual capacity to interfere in any issue now, because we have watched him speak at international forums where he has messed up terribly. So I don't think he has the capacity, doesn't have the constitutional wherewithal to interfere, and it should allow the River State people to sort themselves out. And I think the reality is that things are taking shape and it will be sorted out.
Parasite Oluchi, I want to say thank you so much for taking your time to share your perspective on most of these topical issues on the World News at 6. I sincerely do appreciate you.
Thank you very much for having me on board. Have a wonderful day.
All right. Now, to wrap up the World News at 6, here again are the top stories. Peter Obi raises alarm on being threatened for criticizing Tinubu's administration drama as APC receives 27 pro-Wike lawmakers. Rivers elders, leaders react to fresh move to impeach Fubara. INEC discloses by-elections, rerun elections to fill legislative vacancies may hold February 1, 2024. And troops rescue 13 kidnapped victims in Zamfara. That's a wrap on the World News at 6. My name is Esther Mwachuku. Join us for VOP Politics at precisely 7 o'clock on at VOP TV Live. That is at Voice of the People TV on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and join us for more political conversations at 7 o'clock on at VOP TV Live for VOP Politics. Up next is the Evening Rush right here on the radio station with Precious. Good evening and thank you for listening.